Okay, hello. And here are some answers for the homework that was assigned over the last few days. And if you have questions, again, I'll be on Zoom or can meet you on Zoom sometime during the week. Just let me know. But go ahead, get out your what you turned in, please, and see if what you got models what I have, because these are kind of questions that might pop up on the midterm as well. So upcoming midterm or final. So here we go. Hopefully you've already, I'm going to assume that you've read everything and that you've read the problem, and so I won't take time there. But this one's dealing with corporations in the United States um, from 1998 to 2002. Notice we have some points of interest. We have a y-intercept here. That's at 0 comma 400. And also they're asking you to find the point 3520, which is about right here. So that's 3 comma 520. And that's just because they're reading that. And if I were to grab another nice point off of here, you could even grab this one, which is at 5 comma 600. Notice I like to grab some points right off the bat. Also talking x, let's define our variables as years after 1990. So that's here, right? And profits, y, is going to be in billions of dollars. So a lot of times before I even get going, notice what I've done. I've got some points there. And the first question is interpret 3 comma 520. And if you know that X is the years after 1990, that's just this 3, and the profit in billions is going to be 520, you can say 3 years after, and a lot of this stuff I'll do with you just by speaking or auditorily, if that's a word. So you can say 3 years. Uh-oh, I don't know why that happened. I'm sorry. Let me kind of scroll back up here, and we'll get the pen working again. Sometimes that happens when I start talking. I apologize. And let's just erase that. So for your answer here, so interpret that point, you would say 3 years after what? 1900 or 1990? Or you can say in 1993. Either one. Okay, so that's your choice. So in 1993, oh, what were the profits? 500 profits were 520. Now notice it's billion. So make sure you write that in billion. Okay? Now, if they're asking you to find a linear model of this thing, okay, not a problem. But every time you hear those words, linear model, you need to be thinking y equals mx plus b. And not only thinking that, but notice your slope, by definition, is y2 minus y1 over, sorry, my brain's cranking out here. It's been a long day. Over x2 minus x1. So let's go ahead and get that slope. I'll pick any 2 points that you know. I'm going to pick the easiest ones. This one and this one. And here we go. 400 minus 600. And it really doesn't matter which point is point 1 or point 2 as long as you go in order. So if I'm going to go from the first point here to this point, I always have to do that. So 400 minus 600 means then I have to do 0 minus 5. And then minus 200 over minus 5. What is that if you can do some quick math? 200 minus 5, or excuse me, not minus 5, but divided by 5 should give you 40. Notice a negative over a negative is 40. So my slope's positive. So y equals 40x plus a b. And I'm moving more quickly this time, assuming you guys have already done some of this. Now, again, you can pick any point you want. You can, for time's sake, I won't do it here, but you can plug in 0 comma 400 here if you want. I guess I did it anyways. But you'll figure out that b is equal to 400 because this term is 0. So the final answer for that thing, let's do it in green. Y is going to equal 40x plus 400. So there's your answer for B. If you got that far in a midterm, you'd be great. Now remember, that slope is 40 over 1. So if you had to explain that, and you're going to have to, notice getting the equations half the points in part C and D will be worth more. So make sure that you can do both. You can say, now notice 40 what? 40 is in money, right? And I'm just checking out my Y in billions. I'm cheating by looking at my graph. And remember, X was years after 1990. So this is in years. So the meaning of the slope in the context of this problem, so you can say that each year after 1990, profits went up $40 billion, or there were $40 billion made more each year. So that's what I would write. Each year, 40 billion dollars were made, or you could say there was an increase in profits. That's a better way to say it. So scratch what I just wrote. That's why I was pausing there for a second. Profits increased by 40 billion. Okay, so each year, and the reason I'm saying increase, and that's a huge part, is because this is positive again. So each year, profits increase by 40 billion. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Notice it's a ratio. You said something about the X and about the Y, hopefully, in terms of a ratio. Next one, part D, explain the meaning of the vertical intercept. Well, that's just 0, 400. And you could say, notice what's X? Time since 1990. So you can say that exactly in 1990, businesses had, what's that other number? 400 billion in profits. Sound good? Notice when I'm showing you these answers for your lab problems, I'm not kind of lecturing like I did in the previous videos. It's just kind of giving you answers. And can you also use, you can also use your function here, this whole y equals 40x plus 400. You can also use that to solve x2 or x as well. So if you wanted to find the profits in or for y in 98, well, what is that, an x or a y? So if you know 1, that's a time, right? And you cannot plug 1998 into here. You need to plug in, how many years is that after 1990? I guess I should ask. So if you know that, and it should, if you're saying, well, I think it's 8 years, that's what you plug in there. And then you crank all that stuff out to get that answer. So y equals, you do the math, 320 plus 400, or 720. Now notice, put your units, okay? So if I ask you to use that in a sentence, you would say after 8 years, here's your 8, profits were 720 billion. So far, so good? Okay, so if you had to use your graph to show that that's reasonable, well, come on over here, find the 8, which is right here, and then just track that up. Right in there, it's about 720. So you could argue that. You can say that looks like 8, 720. Okay, so hopefully that's good. Again, you might see this on a midterm. So check. Now, if you wanted to do the converse, notice here's your function again. Y equals 40x plus, 400. So if that's still your function and your profits, now notice profit is 700, you could plug the 700 here this time. And then just figure out when, because time is here. So notice 2 questions. You figured out the profit when you were given a time. This time you're given the profit and ask for the time. They always have to, or your problems will have to give you one or the other. So if I solve that, minus 400, minus 400, divide both sides by 40, and then with the help of a calculator, 300 divided by 40, give me a second here. I'm not that good. 7.5. So what does that mean? Is 7.5 donuts? No, 7.5 years. So and approximately what you can do You can do that again. Go to the graph, 7.5 years. What were our profits? Sorry, I have to scroll down here. Oh, 700 billion. So 4.5, no, that's wrong. 4.5, sorry, I'm moving too fast. So 7.5 years, no, I was right. Proved that it was 700 billion. So 4.5 years is right in here, isn't it? So if I go up, uh-oh, it should be under 600. So did I make a mistake in my math? Let's go back and check. So 700 billion, let's see. 300 divided by 40. So if I use that same model and I plug 700 billion into there, and I have to write everything else, 40x plus 400 minus 30, blah, 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 7.5 years. Now what's wrong with that problem? I'm just curious. 300 divided by 40 is 7.5, and that's not matching up. So we got something going on here. So there's 7.5. Let's check again. Oh, I'm sorry. I went to 4.5. So notice how my brain can malfunction on myself here. I just picked the wrong spot in the graph. We're okay. So 7.5 years is here, right? And if I took in that would be about 700 too, right? So 7, just a little under 8. So sorry for that hiccup. I saw that 400, and I'm also being distracted. You can't see it here, but anyway, so it's reasonable. And all you'd have to do is write a sentence on the graph. This is what I would write. On the graph, it falls in the right spot. Okay? So it doesn't matter after 7.5 years if it's 700, or after 8 years it's 720. Those values are kind of the same. Sorry for that hiccup at the end, but I'll do another video for the next problem here, and then we'll be done with the lab homework.